with Governor Quinn. Uh, in the last year, the City Club has tried to help other organizations. In the beginning of the year, we had David Axelrod speak up at Misericordia and raised almost $250,000 for them. Special Olympics or special children's charities, the mayor and the governor both spoke. We were able to help them. The annual State of the City dinner, we had a record number of people and a record number of money. And then on Monday, Governor Quinn has very generously offered to speak at a Thanksgiving breakfast. If you're interested in any tickets, they're $250, tax deductible, and just see me or one of the City Club board members. I get a lot of the credit for all these wonderful events, but it really is a great team who puts these together, and we're very honored to have with us. I'm going to mention a couple board members and friends. Grant Linsky, board member. Grant, thank you very much. Great friend of the City Club board, Miles Berman. Mr. Berman, thank you. And board member Joyce Saxon. Joyce, thank you very much for being with us. We have the chairman of the Regional Transportation Authority, Jim Riley. Jim, thank you for being with us. And the executive director, Steve Schlickman. Steve, thank you. We're very honored to have with us today the president of the Chicago Transit Authority, Rich Rodriguez. Rich, thank you for being with us. We also have what we would call an international visitor. She's the mayor of Evanston, Mayor Elizabeth Tisdall. Mayor, where are you? Mayor, where are you? Oh, Mayor, there we go. Thank you very much for coming. Again, I said I get a lot of the credit, but it really is the board members I mentioned, our chairman, Tom Roser, who's been in there 17 years as president before I was there, and now 16 years as chairman, and the aforementioned, and also a great City Club board member who was there, frankly, longer than I am and does an outstanding job, who's going to introduce our speaker, Chris Roebling. Chris, thank you very much. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you all for turning out today. However, whether you got downtown today by Metra, CTA, an individual car, or a ride-sharing arrangement, we're delighted that you were able to make it. And welcome to the City Club. And thank you to Jay Doherty. Yes, there is a team, but every team takes a leader. And I want to tell you, City Club today is achieving new heights, and I think we owe that to the vision and leadership of our president, Jay Doherty. I'd like to recognize that. Carole Doris became Metra's second chairman in what is now a 25-year history in August of 2006. Since then, she has emerged in our region as a leading voice for commuter rail and for regional cooperation and integration. Her dedication to public service was evident in 1983 when she joined the office of the DuPage County State's Attorney. By 1990, Carole had become the chief of its civil division, acting as attorney to the county board and representing the officers of DuPage County in numerous trials and appellate matters. Those successes were shortly followed by similar achievements at the Office of the Illinois Attorney General, where Carole rose to Chief Deputy in 1998. And in that position, she managed 350 Assistant Attorneys General, both the civil and the uncivil. No, I'm sorry. Both civil and criminal. And that may be really the best training ground for navigating the complex relationships between RTA, CTA, PACE, Metra, their funding sources and appointing authorities, their riders and taxpayers, and the innumerable beneficiaries of the RTA system. As one who's had the privilege of working in transit, I know its grandeur arises from its prevalence. Not only did Metra carry more than 300,000 of us to work this morning, but by doing so, it enabled everyone else in this region to elect the mode of transportation that they selected. And in doing so, it benefited even those who stayed at home, those who would go out later in the day to purchase an item that was trucked in this morning. So in this metropolis, that interconnectedness of benefit has helped us progress in our view of transit from fiefdoms, accountable to the few, to players that are on everyone's team. So the individual transit agencies are playing for the suburbs and the city, for the region and our economy, for the state and even our neighbors in Wisconsin and Indiana. It's a very large mandate, and in recent years it's been beset by challenges. For a report on Metra's steps to meet that mandate in view of those challenges, I give you Carole Doris.
Thank you for that introduction, and thank you for inviting me to speak to you today. I know how deeply the members of the City Club care about Chicago, and I'm honored that you recognize the role Metra plays in keeping the metropolitan area strong and vital. Before I talk about what we're doing to meet our challenges today, I'd like to introduce some of the Metra officials who work every day to make the trains run on time. First, my fellow board members, Vice Chair Larry Huggins, Director and Mayor of Arlington Heights, Arlene Mulder, Director Jim LaBelle, Director Ed Pazel, and Director Bill Pennington. Everyone who, oh, did I miss? Jack, oh, I'm sorry. I knew that would happen. Since we've expanded our board, there's a lot more names to remember. And our newest board member, Director Jack Pardelow. Today, I think we all recognize the dedication it takes to assume an appointment or a public office. And I appreciate these individuals who have stepped forward to accept that challenge, and also the counsel that they offer me on a daily basis as we try to make the hard decisions, the policy decisions. But as you know, the railroad really runs with our professional staff. And I'd like to recognize our executive director and my friend, Phil Pagano. And we have a lot of members of our staff here today, and I can't introduce each one of them, but I would like to recognize our Deputy Executive Director for Operations, Bill Tupper, and our Deputy Executive Director for Corporate Affairs, Mike Noland, and Sharon Austin, who takes care of passenger services and their security. I'm sure many of you are regular Metra commuters. I certainly hope so. But for those of you who aren't familiar with our system, let me offer a quick overview. But while I'm doing that, I thought you might enjoy riding with me on our Rock Island train to the Oak Park Avenue station in Tinley Park. The video you're about to see is used in our locomotive simulators pictured here, which we use to train new engineers before they get behind the controls of an actual locomotive. It's one of the many ways we are tapping into new technology to improve our system. Let me explain, as you see this, some of the sights and sounds on the video. As we pass the other train at a standard grade crossing, at the grade crossing at Oak Park Avenue, and in a station, you will hear the required whistles and bells. And before departing from the station again, you will hear the signal from the conductor telling the engineer that the train's set to go. Further on, after we leave the station, you'll see yellow, red, and red flags indicating a work crew is ahead, and the train will blow his whistle as it passes. Metra is the nation's second largest and most complex commuter rail operation, running 702 trains a day, carrying more than 150,000 commuters. We have a hub and spoke system with 11 lines radiating from downtown Chicago into an area that is twice the size of the state of Rhode Island. We run 500 route miles, roughly the distance from Chicago to Pittsburgh. We have 239 stations, more than 1,000 pieces of rolling stock, and more than 1,100 miles of track, which if you laid it end to end would take you from Chicago to Denver. Since Metra was formed in 1984, we have invested $5.4 billion to reverse years of disinvestment and to rebuild the region's commuter rail network virtually from the ground up. Using federal, state, and Metra resources to upgrade and modernize our core system, we've enhanced services, and in the process, we've grown our ridership and reduced our operating costs. 7 years ago, when I joined the board, we were in the midst of a virtually uninterrupted string of year-to-year ridership gains. New services were being added to a system that had a better on-time performance record than any other commuter rail system in the United States. Metra was continuing to invest millions of dollars in rebuilding and modernizing the network's infrastructure and was on the verge of completing 3 major New Starts projects, ahead of schedule and under budget. We extended the Union Pacific West line to LaFox and Elburn. We significantly upgraded service on the North Central service and the Southwestern service, virtually doubling its capacity and adding new trains. In 2007, the General Assembly asked the Illinois Auditor General to report on the state of the transit operations. That report found Metra ranked better than every other commuter rail provider in the nation in all performance categories. That was a good break because more recently, things have been a bit more challenging. Over the past 5 years, Metra has experienced an overall lack of adequate capital funding, particularly at the state level. But we're still rolling. We had to tighten our belts and concentrate on keeping rolling stock, tracks, and facilities in good operating condition and on maintaining good service at a reasonable price. This disinvestment, unfortunately, came at a time of blockbuster ridership. Our ridership peaked at a record 86.8 million passenger trips in 2008. Without capital investment and this level of demand, we had to take some unusual steps. Since we couldn't afford to buy new rolling stock, for instance, we ended up buying back some of the old bi-level cars that we had sold to other rail agencies. And we bought 2 locomotives to increase our spare-to-fleet ratio from a rail museum. Some people call this a garage sale for Metra. Meanwhile, costs beyond our control, such as diesel fuel, health care, and security and pension requirements, have been frustrating our attempts to control our expenses. And this year, the economic downturn is hurting us, just as it is hurting nearly everyone and every government body in this region. This year, our ridership and passenger revenue have declined. But even more significantly, the sales tax receipts that we count on for our public subsidy have plummeted as people have simply stopped spending. 10 years of sales tax growth has disappeared. Before the downturn, for instance, we were expecting about $369 million from the sales tax in 2009. Instead, we'll end up with about $305 million. That's a $60 million budget shortfall. That drop is particularly frustrating because 2 years ago we thought we had at last solved the operational money woes that have chronically plagued our regional mass transit. For example, in 2007, before the '08 transit bill was passed, without operating relief, we stared at a 10% per year fare increase. We looked at service reductions, which included no weekend service at all, no midday service, job layoffs, and the closing of some stations. However, state lawmakers courageously increased the regional transportation sales tax for Metra, the CTA, and PACE, and they hiked the real estate transfer tax in Chicago to further aid the CTA. But no one envisioned how dramatically the economy would sour, how dramatically retail sales and home buying would plummet. You've seen the headlines that have resulted from that drop. All of our 3 transit agencies are coping in their own way to balance their budgets in response to the unexpected shortfall. Last week, the governor, to prevent fare increases for CTA and PACE paratransit services in 2010 and 11, brokered an agreement so that the RTA would issue bonds for capital projects in 2010 and 11, allowing federal dollars for capital to be shifted to CTA operations, with IDOT agreeing to cover the cost of debt service for the first 2 years of that bond. PACE would receive $8.5 million in 2010 and 11 from IDOT to hold the line on paratransit fare hikes. But at Metra, we're doing what we always have done, working to live within our means and still meet the demands of the commuting public. So we are cutting about 150 administrative positions, freezing management salaries, and asking non-union workers to contribute more toward their health insurance. We've proposed changes in our fare structure. An average 6% increase in the one-way fare and a raise from $5 to $7 on the weekends. These fare adjustments will raise revenue, but won't impact 80% of our riders who use monthly passes and 10-ride tickets. All those efforts will get us to our state-mandated fare recovery ratio of 55%, one of the highest revenue to expense recovery ratios of any rail system. But I don't want to make it all doom and gloom. Thanks to Springfield's action 2 years ago, we're optimistic looking forward. Metra will be in a much better position for operating funds once the economy improves. Earlier this year, Springfield and Washington took major steps toward helping us address our backlog of capital needs. We certainly owe our elected leaders thanks for their support during these difficult and demanding times. After 10 years without a new program, the Illinois General Assembly and Governor Quinn worked to pass a new state capital financing plan that over the next few years will provide Metra with $1.1 billion for infrastructure. We also received $140.9 million in federal stimulus dollars under the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. Overall, that means about 700 jobs for the region. The stimulus dollars are already being put to use on projects as far-ranging as the remanufacture of 50 locomotives, the replacement of bridges on the Union Pacific North Line in the Metra Electric District, the restoration of Winnetka Station, various station parking and platform projects, and signal system work on the Burlington Northern Santa Fe shovel-ready projects. We're also building a new station at 35th Street on the Rock Island District. We're sure that White Sox fans, as well as area residents, workers, and students at IIT will enjoy this new stop and amenities. When the proceeds from the state program become available, the first thing we'll do is replace 160 Highliner cars used on our Metra Electric District. We have long stated that this project is our top priority. The cars in this fleet date back to 1971. They're carbon steel. They can no longer be rebuilt or refurbished. We cannibalize existing cars now to keep the rest running. The new cars will include bathrooms and modern propulsion systems. Work also continues on the Electronic Train Management System, ETMS, which is currently being installed on Metra's Rock Island district. The ETMS is a form of positive train control, but at 1/3 the cost of other positive train control systems. How it works is they download data to onboard computers. It works with a GPS and warns the engineer of any track activity or situations ahead of him or her. This federally mandated signal system will provide an added level of safety for our train crews and, importantly, our passengers. Other lines besides the Rock will get the system in order to meet the federal deadline of 2015. The remainder of our state capital program will be used to address a backlog of rolling stock and infrastructure projects across the region, which will enable Metra to maintain its system in a good state of repair. For our riders, this means fewer slow zones, fewer mechanical failures, and a number of station and parking improvement projects across the region. It will not, however, enable us to carry out long-range New Starts projects on our books. And the New Starts projects include core upgrades on the UP West and Northwest line that will allow us to carry more passengers and also to add some express and reverse commute service. The Southeast service line, which is a proposed new line which will bring services to an underserved part of our region in the southern suburbs, and I think bring opportunities for those communities for redevelopment of their towns and municipalities. And of course the Star Line, which is an western outer circumferential suburb to suburb line that would use, as would the Southeast service, a new type of car, a lighter rail, so-called DMU, diesel multiple units, which are flexible and also save a lot of money in fuel costs. But there's no money. Sounds exciting, but we will be looking to the federal government and again, robust state bonding programs to be able to get these back on track. One other capital project is worth noting. We're doing some significant improvements on the UP West line, including new track alignments, enhanced signal systems, improved station designs, and passenger safety features. Those safety features include new station layouts, which channel pedestrians at gated crossings away from standing behind the gate next to the locomotive or the cars. And it also has another train coming warning system designed to alert pedestrians that more than one train is either present at the station or entering the station. This is noteworthy because it's made possible through an innovative public-private partnership between Metra and the Union Pacific Railroad. We're splitting the $112 million cost, and I might add part of Metra's contribution was money saved on the previous UP West New Start project that opened, as I said, on time and under budget, and Mr. Pagano cleverly was able to wrestle some of that money to stay in Metra's coffers so we could put it toward this sort of project. We have a long history of working not only with the UP but with all the freight railroads on projects that benefit both freight and passenger operations. Our capital projects are just one way that Metra is investing in its future. Despite the tough economic times, we're doing a variety of other things. We're pursuing the benefits of new technologies that improve our performance, boost customer service, and maintain a well-trained workforce. Let me tell you about some of those things. On September 9th, Metra launched a major redesign of its website. The new site is customer-oriented, It provides train service alerts via email and the ability to purchase monthly passes and 10-ride tickets. Are you ready now? With credit cards. Users can also create accounts tailored to their train schedules and automate recurrent ticket purchases. And there's new information about Metra for anyone who wants to explore our services, our policies, including as we roll out and further refine this, it will include vending information and information about our board agendas and minutes. We also have the ability to radically change the homepage in the event of a civic crisis when we need to quickly get information to our riders. The site will also be upgraded to be accessible on mobile devices and to provide service alerts through text messaging. Next year, Metra will develop and implement advertising partnerships on the website to offset some of this site's operating costs. In February 2010, we will expand our credit card acceptance program to allow for ticket purchases at stations where an agent is on duty. That includes all 5 downtown stations. And credit card purchasing will be available through electronic vending machines at downtown stations and at key stations along the Metra Electric District. Metra's skilled workforce is one of our most valued assets. But as our workforce ages, it is clear that we must continue to train and develop new employees to meet our specific needs. The continuation of our apprentice programs, regardless of the constraints of our current economic environment, is critical to our ability to operate service at existing levels. Currently, more than 50% of our skilled mechanical employees are age 50 or older, and most are eligible to retire by age 60 under the rules of the Federal Railroad Retirement System. With such a scenario in mind, Metra has for the past several years invested in an apprenticeship program to train machinists, carmen, electrician, signalmen, and the sheet metal workers who work on our rehabs and remanufacturers. An equally significant number of Metra's operations employees, including conductors and engineers, are also nearing retirement age. Trainings for these professionals are ongoing. With regard to training, in September, Metra entered into an intergovernmental agreement with Western Illinois University's Center for Application of Information Technologies to provide computer-based training courses. This partnership will allow Metra to build a centralized, database-driven training system, improving our ability to track and document our training programs. Online training will increase Metra's flexibility in scheduling training sessions for its employees and will further cut our costs by eliminating the need to staff all training classes. But Metra never forgets that our #1 priority is safety. Our efforts were rewarded again this year when we received a Bronze Harriman Award from the E.H. Harriman Memorial Awards Institute for outstanding achievements in maintaining employee safety. This marks the 11th time in Metra's history that it has been so recognized for its safety record. And I know most of you here realize that a successful safety program, many initiated by our own union workers, help control our operating costs. We will continue our safety outreach programs in 2010 with particular emphasis on the region's school children. In its 4th year, Metra's Safety Poster Contest is a key part of our ongoing effort to increase public awareness of railroad safety practices. Last year, about 4,500 children participated. It might have had something to do with the first prize, which was a laptop computer. But it's really a worthwhile program. The 2010 poster contest theme, Make the Right Choice, Look, Listen, and Live, highlights the importance of following the rules and procedures that keep us all safe around trains and railroad tracks. We use these wonderful pieces of artwork, incidentally, on our own safety posters on board the trains, and also reproduce them on the face of the monthly tickets. In 2009, Metra's effort to increase non-fare box revenue created some new advertising opportunities. Perhaps you've seen the advertisements that were wrapped on our train cars or that appeared in our passenger newsletter on the bi-level. These programs are planned to continue through 2010. Additionally, Metra has begun pursuing advertising partnerships or grants to offset the costs of its school safety programs. Finally, this month, Metra and U.S. Equities are opening the first phase of Metra Market, a $43 million project to turn an underutilized area at the Ogilvie Transportation Center into a new retail and dining destination in Chicago's West Loop. The centerpiece of this market is the city's first year-round, authentic French market, featuring dozens of unique and exciting food vendors. The project isn't just good for Metra's riders and for the neighborhood, it's good for Metra too. It's expected to generate $38 to $40 million in revenues for Metra over the next 25 years. And I've been asked by former Metra board member Bob Wislow of U.S. Equities, a tireless worker in trying to get a project like this off the ground in these challenging times, to the Phase 1 grand opening, health permits from the City of Chicago being in place on December 3rd at noon. And we expect that the mayor will be there to help us open up this exciting new venture. And one more commercial before I end, in terms of bringing everybody to the table, so to speak. Metra, along with RTA, CTA, PACE, the Tollway, and IDOT, are sponsoring our 13th annual Transportation Symposium and Business Exchange on Tuesday, the 1st of December, at 10 o'clock at Chicago Hilton and Towers. And we have some of these around for folks who might be interested in working with us in transit. It's not just DBE vendors, though we always welcome them, but it's for all vendors. So finally, although times are tough for Metra as well as for everyone else, we think we're doing a lot with what we have. We feel well positioned for future growth. A trade magazine, Railway Track and Structures, recently did a feature on Metra's capital efforts. They concluded that Metra has always managed its funds in a very responsible manner by concentrating on keeping the tracks and facilities in good operating condition and on maintaining good service at reasonable price. It said, quote, "Metra knows how to run a railroad," unquote. That's what we've been doing for 25 years and what we hope to do for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Carole Doris, and thank you, audience, for having written down your questions. I've got some questions coming. We're looking for them. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you. Any questions? We've got some people to pick them up. Please don't be shy. Send them down. Okay. Thank you very much. As those questions are coming in, I also want to recognize, we said it, the importance of integrating all of our transit activities here in this region. All of you are with one of the people who is not in the newspaper every day, not on TV every week, but one of the people who really does get the work done. And this has been true for many administrators of the service boards and the RTA. From the Chicago Department of Transportation, we're really pleased and privileged to have Luann Hamilton here. Let's give Luann a real round of applause. Okay, Joyce Saxon on the City Club Board asks, what did losing the Olympics mean to Metra, if anything?
I think like most residents of Chicago and the region, we were disappointed that Chicago didn't get the 2016 Olympics. We looked forward to opportunities for new federal dollars to come to our agency as well as to mass transit in general. It would have been a challenge. I think some of you read about that. We had already looked at other cities' experiences and reaching out for additional equipment during that peak period. But whenever you have the opportunity to enhance your infrastructure, those benefits clearly last beyond the event. And we felt that our region's transportation system was a real plus in the competition, because unlike other cities in the United States in terms of commuter rail, we had a good system already in place. So we were disappointed.
Yeah, we don't know what commuter rail in Rio is really like. Phil's gonna lead a delegation, figure that one out. Send me a postcard, Phil, I wanna see that. Our friend Don Priest of HOH asks, Carole, do you have any plans to electrify other lines to reduce operating costs and lessen pollution?
No. Let me just explain.
The ComEd table is upset.
No. One of the reasons that Metra's been able to build up its system from the ground up is because of the interchangeability we have between the various lines. The electric district line is an anomaly. It goes back to the early 1900s, and I believe the Burnham plan to get steam engines and that kind of pollution off of the lakefront. So no diesel engines can run, I think it's south of 51st Street. So it is a more expensive line for other reasons to run. Each one of those cars is like a locomotive. So I don't foresee the likelihood of changing other lines or running electric on the rest of our system. Having said that, Metra is very concerned with greening our operation. And to that end, I commend anybody that takes Metra, because you've already done a green thing, by not being on the roadways. If all of our passengers went onto the expressways, we'd need 29 more lanes of traffic and the pollution that ensues with that. We run our operation in our yards and by the remanufacture our locomotives to increase fuel efficiency. We use low or the new carbon, what are we calling those? The light bulbs that take less energy on all of our trains. We recycle our railroad ties, our iron, our fuel oil, and recycle all the paper that we use for our tickets. So, and we always will be looking at what new technologies are available for reducing the use of fuel and any discharge into the environment.
Thank you, Carole. Another question comes to us from John Mick. Brittany Waters is here today. She's with the DBE office at Metra. It is her birthday. Can we say hi to Brittany Waters? Happy birthday. Brittany is probably mortified and embarrassed that we mentioned this. Her friend John Mick. Brittany, this is your birthday song. It isn't very long. Okay. We are ready. Let us give Carole Doris a big round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you. And just before adjourning, this is just in, the City Club. Oh my gosh, that's right. We've got our swag. This is designed, Jim Riley made sure years ago that this stuff met all disclosure and ethics responsibilities. We have, for Carole Doris, a complimentary membership in the City Club for the coming year. He's got that all-important history of the City Club of Chicago. No bookshelf is complete without it. And for all those long nights at the Metra office waiting for the budget to be ratified, we don't care what you put in this, but we want you to have it close to your heart. Carole Doris, your mug from the City Club. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned.